Once, she saw two faces dancing together in the dark. I was livid. I couldn't believe my eyes when I read what was written on them. One said, "You are free," and the other, "Where is the real Penny?" I ran to my mom and showed her the notes. Naturally, she didn't get it. "What are these?" she asked. "Listen, Brianna has been telling me weird things like, 'You're not my sister. Why are you acting like you are?' And she said you left my room last night. Guess what? She's scaring me." Mom laughed. She said, "Oh, Daddy, Aunt Brianna wants to do a story. Girls aren't exactly the same, but your sister has always been a steady when it comes to creativity. See, she still knows how to be creative, even in a fight." I knew Brianna was going to do something. I was really annoyed because she was actually succeeding. My mom pulled me into our house for patience. "Can I get out of this?" I said, holding Aunt Brianna's hand. She liked me better after we sang together in a karaoke house. I said, "No, Brianna, I want to go." "Listen, this is not your decision. Your mom and I have already made the call. We're going there first thing in the morning. Here it is." He said, "You're indicating my spying bias when I tell you what. You're recording this video. Please go play it right now. Let's crack the camera open." "Okay, Mom, the video started. Thanks so much. Now, back to the story. We had to drove 15 miles to get to the camp, which was in a national park. To be honest, this was the perfect summer camp for high schoolers like us. Normally we would have both jumped at the offer, but those rocks and tile boys, literally hated each other. They shut us doors down. Brianna dropped off her bag and started heading out. "Where are you going?" I asked. "I'm going to look for a place to stay. You think I'm that stupid? I'll never stay in the same camp as you," she said. "Brianna, please cut this 'you're not my twin' nonsense. You're scaring me." She looked at me like she was surprised. "I'm the one who needs to be scared. I'm just a foster who's saying she's my twin sister. If I tell my parents, they'll think I'm crazy. That's what I need proof. I'll do it today." I couldn't believe my ears. She still wouldn't drop this stupid game. I was furious. "Find yourself a place to stay then. I don't want to see you again until this thing's over." And she left the house. I was so mad I started crying. "My sister! Why is she doing this to me?" Suddenly, I had an idea. I could find out exactly what Brianna was thinking and why she was acting like this from her journal. We both started keeping journals in elementary school. After a while, I gave up, but Brianna wrote in hers every day. Sometimes she would bring her journal to my room, flip to a random page, and start reading. I would talk to her today. I knew that she was writing down every single detail in her life. I was so anxious as I opened Brianna's bag. I was right. She had brought her journal with her. I was reading bullets. She could literally make me see them. I opened it and started reading. I was once again convinced that that thing is not Devin. It's imitating Devin. It looks like her, acts like her, and it can't fool me because I know my sister better than it does. It's trying to laugh like me. Look, I squint when she laughs. That thing can't be her. Every time it laughs, I can tell that it's not Devin. Oh my god, what was she saying? She was seriously thinking I wasn't her real twin sister. She was calling me that thing. My ears started burning. I felt so weak and almost collapsed. At that moment, Brianna walked in. She saw me holding her journal. She leapt and grabbed it from my hand. "It's all here. You think something's going to happen to you once I prove you're not Devin. You think you can fool me, but you're wrong. Where's Devin? Give me my sister back now." I was speechless. I managed to mumble something like, "Brianna, I love you more than anything in the world," and ran out. I had no idea what made Brianna believe in something so crazy, but I was sure I wouldn't be able to convince her otherwise. I had to tell my parents about all of this right away. When I called them up and started telling them, they first thought Brianna had been teasing me, or they even laughed. But when I started crying my heart out as I was telling the things I'd written in our journal, they realized this was serious. When I told them made any sense, they started getting worried. They drove to the camp. Their dad said, "Devin, you wait here. We'll go for a walk." When they returned, they looked very upset. Apparently, Brianna had told them, too, that I wasn't the real Devin. Brianna kept saying to me, "Everybody knows Devin. Everybody knows that she's my twin sister. Just believe it."
Welcome to the Here's My Story channel. I'm Bowen. Even though I live with my parents, we treat each other like strangers. We don't talk. I can't even remember the last time I got conversation with my dad. I only remember my mom telling me to take out the trash a few weeks ago. Normally she just points to the trash with her eyes. I'm surprised that she actually said something to me that day at all. I took my mom grocery shopping and completely forgot that we even ate alone in my room. My parents all travel. Of course, they never take me with them. They don't even tell me that they're going somewhere. And I don't see them at home 2 weeks. Well, the days have gone on a trip. When I find out what they mean after they get back by looking in the fridge, because wherever they go, they get a certain amount of milk, plus something to eat. My parents ask me if I have any. And my grandma gives me a big hug. She's my mother, and we cry a ton. My mom hasn't seen her for years. I visit her every Friday. If you're ever curious to know why they are treating me this way, I'll tell you. Because they think I ruined their lives. My mom was only 12 years old when she got pregnant with me. My dad were both law school students. My mom gave birth to me even though she didn't want me at all. Because of that, she never got her degree. My dad also quit school and started working to be able to support us. One day when I was in elementary school, my mom said to me, "If it wasn't for you, both your dad and I would have been successful lawyers today. But instead, I'm working as a secretary, and your dad is a mechanic. In case you're not aware, you destroyed our lives." Of course, at such a young age, made me really upset. Now, I don't feel guilty. I can't really say that I'm all that happy. I only feel good when I visit my grandma. That's why on Fridays, I don't walk, but run to the retirement home. Every week, my grandma's best friend, Aunt Zora, bakes a lemon cake for me. The three of us eat cake as I tell them about everything that happened that night. I mostly talk about the things my parents have done. They listen to me very carefully, and they always have a lot to say. One Friday, when I arrived at the home, both my grandma and Aunt Zora looked really sick. Their eyes were all puffy from crying. Aunt Zora had been treated for cancer, but most of all, for COVID. The doctor had told her that the cancer had spread all over her body. Nothing could be done. Aunt Zora wiped the tears off her face and said, "I asked the doctor, how long do I have? Please tell me." He said, "Maybe a week or a month. Almost certainly less than a year. It's really difficult to say this, but I could die any second now." She said. I was so sad. She was as close to me as my grandma. I wanted to say something to comfort her, but words have lost their meaning. Aunt Zora said, "Let's go to my room. I've had something on my mind for a while now. It's time to share it." My grandma and I stared at each other. We didn't get it. We followed Aunt Zora. She took out a notebook from the closet and handed it to me. "I don't think anyone else in this world apart from you two. I think of your grandma as my sister, and you as my cousin. This notebook is the only thing I can think of," she said. I looked at the notebook. I could tell it was very old because the pages were all yellow. I flipped through it, but couldn't figure out what it was. There were a lot of numbers and words I couldn't make out. Aunt Zora said, "These are my great-grandfather's notes. He lived in France in the 1700s, and he was one of the most renowned alchemists of his time." "Do you know what alchemy is?" she asked me. I shook my head. "No." Aunt Zora began to tell the story. In ancient Greece, China, and Europe, alchemists tried to transform materials such as iron and lead into gold by mixing different elements. They used to say, if you mix the right ingredients, you could turn a rusty key into solid gold. There were some who succeeded, but they didn't tell anyone about it. They kept it a secret. My great-grandfather was one of them. Thanks to him, our family lived comfortably for generations. They kept his secret, but I'm the last living member of my family, so no one else is left. I've decided that Bowen is the only person I can pass this on to. And I have some good news, too. The formula in this notebook transforms not only metals, but any object into gold. Listening to Aunt Zora, my grandma was surprised as I was. "Anything at all?" she asked. "Yes, everything. There's even rumors about one of my great-uncles accidentally dipping his hand into this notebook, and his whole hand turning into gold." My grandma said, "Zora, you really surprised me with this. Why do you live here if you're so wealthy?" Aunt Zora smiled. "Because I was so lonely. I decided to build this place because I wanted to have a lot of friends," she replied. My grandma screamed, "What? This place belongs to you? Why didn't you tell me?" Aunt Zora laughed. "You never asked." "Don't ask telling the truth. If she was saying this worked, then of course it did. After that day, I began spending all my time researching the notebook that was from the 1700s. I read through the whole notebook to make a list of all the chemicals in the formula. It took a while, but I finally did it. There were 7 of them in total. After a long search, I figured out where I could buy them. The next step was ordering them. I was giddy with excitement, but when I came to the 6th chemical, my excitement turned into grief, because this was a pretty rare element which sold for $1,000 per pound, and I didn't have that much money. I could think of only one solution. I could ask my parents for a loan. I went to the kitchen to talk to them. They were surprised to see me. My dad looked annoyed and said, "What?" I showed him the old notebook and told him what Aunt Zora had told us. "You need $1,000. In return, I'll give you all the gold you want, so you can travel for the rest of your life and never have to see me again," I said. They both started laughing hysterically. My mom said, "This boy has gone totally insane from lack of attention. How imaginative. He can turn anything into gold." My dad turned to me and asked, "Did you really believe this?" "You're so naive. No wonder we never felt close to you. I wasn't going to take another second of this." I ran out. I got on a bus to get to the retirement home. I wanted to tell Grandma and Aunt Zora about everything. When I walked in, everyone was quiet. Clearly something bad had happened. I went to my grandma's room. She stood up when she saw me. "Zora wasn't feeling well this morning. It all happened in a flash. She took her final breath in my arms," she said. I began sobbing. I ended up spending the night with my grandma. In the morning, she took out the wooden box that Aunt Zora had given her. We couldn't believe our eyes when we opened it. There were 3 golden eggs inside. I took one out. It was brilliant and shiny. I wished I could show those eggs to my dad and see the expression on his face. There was a piece of paper inside the box. It seemed to be a note from Aunt Zora. My grandma took it out and began to read. "If you're reading this, then I must be gone. The day I got married, my dad turned 100 eggs into gold and gave them all to me. Each time I needed money, I would sell one and live comfortably for a while. These are the last few that are left. I wanted to give them to you since I have no need for them anymore. Goodbye, my dear sister." Once again, tears came pouring down my grandma's eyes. She knew I didn't want to go back home. "We could sell one of these golden eggs and buy a house. We can live there together," she said. I happily agreed. Since we had enough money now, all I wanted was to try implementing the formula and to become a real alchemist. My grandma bought us a wonderful house. We converted the basement into a laboratory. I ordered all the chemicals and tools that I needed online. I grabbed the notebook and got to work. I began following the formula on the last page of the notebook very carefully. Like I said earlier, there were 7 different chemicals involved. I blended all of them in a bowl, but I was disappointed because the resulting liquid looked just like water. I thought after all that hard work I would finally get some kind of liquid gold, but this liquid didn't seem any different from tap water. Still, I decided to keep going. I was going to use some eggs for the experiment as well. I dropped an egg into the liquid. At first, nothing happened, but after a few moments, a lot of little bubbles started forming. Then the liquid began to boil on its own. I was watching completely mesmerized. The boiling suddenly stopped. The egg had turned golden and shiny. The formula worked. I'd succeeded in transforming an egg into pure gold. Now there was one more thing I had to do. I'm sure you can guess what it is. I wanted to teach my toxic parents a lesson. I went to their house. Neither of them was home because they were both working. I took all the magnets from the fridge and put them in a bag. Then I came back to my new home. I was so excited. I went down to the lab, I dipped each magnet into the liquid and turned them all into gold. I picked up the Las Vegas magnet and held it high. It was so striking and shiny, I couldn't help but laugh. I really wanted my parents to see these right away. I went to the kitchen and stuck the gold magnets onto the fridge. Then I took some pictures, created a group chat with my parents' numbers. I sent the photos of the magnets to the group. "Are these our magnets? They look fantastic," my mom wrote first. Soon after, my dad wrote, "Bowen, did you turn our magnets into gold? So the formula worked? What an incredible success! I'm proud of you." I wasn't going to reply, but they kept texting me. My dad wrote, "We really need to catch up with you, son. Shall we go on a family trip together? We have to celebrate your success." My mom wrote, "Honey, where are you now? Send us your location. We'll come to you. We missed you so much." At that point, I'd had enough. I didn't expect my parents to sink so low for money. It also made me furious to think that they could fool me with a few nice words. I went down to my lab. My parents still kept texting me. I was holding my phone, but wasn't reading any of their texts. I slowly lowered my phone into the liquid. Soon after, it turned into gold. They couldn't text me anymore. That was the last time I heard from them. Welcome to the Here's My Story channel. I'm Dave. 15 minutes into our latest math exam, the teacher suddenly started screaming, "How dare you cheat in my class! Unacceptable!" At first, I didn't realize he was talking to me until I looked up. I was speechless. I was shocked. "Mr. Wilson, I'm not cheating," I stuttered, my voice trembling. "What makes you think that I am?" "I've been watching you since we started. You keep looking at your friend's papers. You're cheating," he roared, grabbing my paper. "I'm not going to report this to school administration," he continued with a smirk on his face. "But if I catch you again, I won't be so easy on you. They'll see you expelled if this happens again." With that smirk, I knew that horrible condescending smile. Mr. Wilson had done it again. He found something else to add to the list of things he could use to threaten me, use as leverage to keep me as his errand boy. Mr. Wilson came to our school at the beginning of the year. I met him during the summer break before school started when he moved in next door to my house. My mom had prepared a fantastic cookie plate, as she does for every new neighbor. We went to say hello. That day, I found out that Mr. Wilson was a math teacher. His wife had also been a teacher for years, but she had retired. They didn't have any children. At the end of the visit, Mr. Wilson said, "We sometimes need help around the house. Dave, you'd be willing to help out, wouldn't you?" "Of course, sir. Please don't hesitate to ask me," I replied. At first, I was happy to help out, but the Wilsons kept asking me until I was doing practically everything for them. "Dave, could you wash the car, please? Dave, could you throw out the trash? Dave, do you mind mowing the lawn?" It wasn't long before polite requests turned into barking orders. "Dave, I called you 10 minutes ago. Where are you? Take the trash out now. Dave, you still haven't washed the car? I'm late for work because of you. Hurry up." At this point, I couldn't handle it anymore, so I started making excuses and avoiding their calls. But when school started, my heart sank. My assigned math teacher was Mr. Wilson. He started using every opportunity to threaten me, including false accusations of cheating on my tests. In exchange for not reporting me to the principal, I had to keep doing their chores at home. I didn't have a choice. We hold a garage sale in our neighborhood the first week of May every year. People who want to do a little spring cleaning sell their old clothes, kitchen utensils, books, and furniture. Mrs. Wilson called me the day before the garage sale, asking me to put their old stuff into cardboard boxes. She kept ordering me around for hours. When she was done, she said, "Don't forget to come early tomorrow morning and take these boxes out to the front yard." I did what she asked me to do before leaving for school the next morning. My mom never really sells our old stuff. For some reason, she's always been more into buying from the neighbors. When I got back home from school, I saw that our front yard was filled with boxes. My mom said, "Honey, I got some fabulous stuff from the neighborhood yard sale. Will you help me carry these boxes inside?" I was exhausted, but I didn't want to say no to my mom. She just seemed so excited. "Dave, look at this umbrella. It's got to be brand new. Oh, how about this? Miss Renee's brooch, at least 50 years old. Oh, and I didn't forget about you either. Apparently, Julene is a huge Stephen King fan. There's a box full of his books in the corner over there." "Julene?" I interrupted, surprised. "You mean Mrs. Wilson? I helped pack every box for her yard sale. I didn't see any of these books." My mom shrugged. "Julene said they were all Stephen King. Why don't you take them with you to your room?" Before going to bed that night, I couldn't stop thinking about the books from Mrs. Wilson. I got up and opened the box. Sure enough, most of them were old Stephen King novels. I'd never read most of them, so I began to look through them one by one. Among the books, there was a notebook. Flipping through its pages, it contained a lot of notes in an alphabet I didn't recognize. Then I remembered that the Google Translate app can translate from an image. We relied on it pretty heavily when reading road signs during a family vacation in Cuba. I went on Google Translate, took a picture of the page, and searched the language. Turns out, the words in the notebook were Russian, but the translation didn't seem to make any sense. "You have to be careful while buying an apple. Apples are blue. There's a goat behind you." What in the world could that mean? Was Google messing up the translation? I photographed another page. Still, nothing made any sense. An old printed photograph fell into my lap as I opened the next page. The young man in the photo resembled Mr. Wilson, but it wasn't actually him. The Mr. Wilson I knew had a wider chin and a smaller nose. The strange translations from the notebook started to confuse me even more with each new page. After photographing each one, I started pacing around the room. Could this be some kind of code? And even if it was, could anyone make sense out of these meaningless sentences? Suddenly, the doorbell rang, but it was almost midnight. Who could possibly be at the door this late at night? Shortly after, my mom came to my room. Dave, Mr. Wilson is at the door. He wants to look at the box of books I bought from him. He says they may have accidentally placed something inside they didn't mean to sell. I reached down to pick up the box, quickly slipping the notebook inside without my mom seeing. Mom, I was about to go to bed. Can you take the box out to him? I said, faking a yawn. The notebook must have been really important for Mr. Wilson if he'd showed up this late at night at our doorstep. I was intrigued. Luckily, I had taken pictures of each notebook page and the photo that had been tucked inside. I had a hunch that Mr. Wilson was hiding something. My thoughts ran wild about everything until I finally drifted off to sleep. While walking to the bus stop in the morning, I got a text from Mr. Wilson. Why didn't you take out the trash? I started burning with anger, but I didn't have a choice unless I wanted to risk getting expelled from school. I ran into him as he was getting into his car. I shouldn't have to tell you to take out the trash every morning, he growled. Just do it. With that, he drove away. I was sure he was headed to school, but of course, he wasn't the kind of person to offer me a ride. Even at full sprint, I couldn't catch the bus on time, so I had to use my lunch money to catch a city bus to get to school. Even then, I was sure I'd end up arriving late. During the ride, we stopped at a red light. I caught a glimpse of Mr. Wilson at a park by the road. He wasn't headed to school after all. He was sitting on a bench holding the notebook I had seen the night before. As the bus started moving again, I couldn't help but feel like something was off. I got off at the next stop and ran back to the park where I last saw him. Thankfully, he was still there, so I decided to watch him from a distance. After a while, Mr. Wilson got up and started walking deeper into the park. He left the notebook behind on the bench. A few moments later, another man came and sat on the bench. He picked up the notebook casually, as if it belonged to him, but he didn't look inside. He just casually watched people passing by for a good while. Finally, he got up and left, taking the notebook with him. Why had Mr. Wilson left the notebook on the bench? Who was the guy who took the notebook? Then I remembered. I took out my phone to look at the photo I had found inside the notebook. I immediately put it through a reverse image search. I gasped when I saw the results. FBI's Most Wanted was the first one listed. I clicked on the link right away. There were lots of photos on the page. From what I could gather, these were the most dangerous criminals wanted by the FBI. When I scrolled down, I saw him. Yuri Batalov, wanted for espionage on behalf of Russia. He was adopted by a U.S. citizen and moved to the U.S. from Moscow. The family had been arrested for leaking information to the USSR government in the 80s. They confessed to raising Yuri as a spy, but he had disappeared without a trace. He's still a fugitive. This is the only photo we have of him. He's believed to live in the U.S. The FBI is offering a reward of $250,000 for any clues leading to his arrest. I was shocked. I found the FBI's anonymous tip line through a Google search and told them about everything I'd seen. They were immediately interested. An hour later, 2 FBI agents showed up. They took the photos I had of the notebook. They said, "Don't speak to anyone about this matter. We'll take it from here." About a week later, we woke up to the sound of sirens. There were police cars everywhere. I ran outside. Mr. Wilson and his wife were handcuffed. I caught Mr. Wilson's gaze as he got into the police car and waved at him with a smirk on my face. The next day, there were a lot of news stories in the media about the capture of the Russian spy Yuri Batalov, aka Mr. Wilson. Apparently, Mr. Wilson had his face changed with a series of plastic surgery procedures. That explained why the photo of his younger self didn't quite look like him. Apparently, he had still been leaking U.S. defense secrets to Russia with the help of 4 other spies working under him. The notebook was how he coded the messages. That explained the gibberish in the notebook and why he gave the notebook to some stranger at the park. Someone high up at the FBI called me to thank me personally. He asked for my parents' bank account details. The $250,000 reward was deposited soon after. Thanks to my tip, Yuri Batalov, who had also been on the FBI's most wanted list for years, had been caught. The FBI asked us to keep everything secret since it wouldn't be safe for me if I was a known informant. I told my family everything. We decided to use the reward as my college fund. The FBI also gave me a medal for distinguished service. It's something I'm very proud of, even if I can't show it to anyone. Plus, I don't have to wash the Wilson's car anymore. Welcome to the Here's My Story channel. I'm Rick. I jumped out of bed as soon as my phone alarm went off. I'd been consistently waking up at 2 a.m. to play Roblox until about 5 in the morning. Then I'd go back to bed and sleep until it was time for school. I was so sleepy during the day, but I would still wake up at night to play Roblox because I enjoyed it so much. One night, while playing Roblox in the dark in a total trance, the light in my room suddenly turned on. I got caught. I turned my head, shivering with fear. My parents stood in the doorway. My mom sounded disappointed. Honey, I can't believe it. Are you so addicted to your games that you have to sneak in the middle of the night? How long has this been going on? She asked. My dad was absolutely furious. Ricky, from now on, no more video games for you. You're not allowed anywhere near the computer. I'm confiscating your phone as well. Yelled. My parents had a right to be angry with me. To be honest, I was going crazy with Roblox. Over the next few days, my Roblox addiction started getting to me. I couldn't think of anything but Roblox. Please let me play for an hour after school, I pleaded with my parents. I promise I'll never play anything more than that. But they wouldn't listen. I begged them so much that my dad finally gave in under one condition. I had to do chores in exchange for time playing Roblox. An hour of helping earned me 15 minutes to play Roblox. This meant that I had to work 4 hours to play Roblox for just one. Sounds strict, I know, but what choice did I have? After getting home from school, I cleaned out the garage, mowed the lawn, and did a bunch of laundry. That hour of Roblox after work had never been so much fun. One day, my dad said, "Since you've taken such good care around the house, I have an offer for you. You know that your grandma lives alone. How do you feel about earning more Roblox hours doing her chores?" I always loved going to my grandmother's house. I'd take any excuse to see her more. I'd be happy to help out, I said. But I paused for a moment, thinking about how I could sweeten the deal. It takes a half hour to get to Grandma's by bus. You've got yourself a deal if you count my time on the bus toward my chore time, I replied. Deal, my dad said, laughing. I like this Roblox game. It definitely keeps you productive. When I got to Grandma's, I told her about my agreement with my dad. Great, she laughed. Actually, there's not much work to do in my house. You can do my grocery shopping, some minor chores, and sit and watch TV with me. The last part can be our little secret. On the days I went to Grandma's, I never felt tired. I'd quickly finish a few chores, and she'd make popcorn on the stovetop. Then the two of us would watch a movie on Netflix. Thanks to my grandma, earning Roblox hours was easy. One afternoon, while getting her groceries, I noticed that most of the items on her list were for me. I immediately recognized the ingredients for Grandma's famous cinnamon rolls. She made them just the way I liked them when I got back. That day, as I was leaving, she said, "Rent's due today. Do you mind heading to the ATM and dropping my rent at the front office? But then I'll have your card until my next visit. Are you sure you won't need it?" I asked her. "I've got everything I need here at home, thanks to you. Plus, I only use that card to get cash for the rent. You can keep the card and give it back to me next time you're here," she replied. I needed the password for the card to take out the money. I was surprised to find out that it was my birth year. Knowing Grandma had picked my birth year instead of any of her other grandkids made me proud. I had to ask why. "Maybe it's because you're my favorite grandchild. What do you think?" she said, giving me a big hug. I knew my grandmother loved me, but that was the first time I realized I was her favorite. I left her house and went to the closest ATM to get the money. Then I went to her building's management office and paid her rent. I took the bus back home. While playing Roblox later that night, I remembered a new game my friends mentioned at school. I was disappointed to learn it was paid, and even though I had previously bought some paid games on Roblox, none of them were this expensive. That's when I got an idea. I still had Grandma's card. I could just buy some Robux and explain during my next visit. She'd understand. After all, I was her favorite grandchild. I needed 1,700 Robux for the game, which cost about $20 on my grandma's card. The next evening, I saw another paid game on Roblox. I'd already registered my grandma's debit card to my account. I figured it would be okay to spend more of her money since she loved me. That's what I told myself as I bought 4,500 Robux. Unfortunately, the same thing happened the following evening. I can spend however much I want from my grandma's card, I told myself. I'm her favorite grandchild. I'm sure she'll be happy to find out I'm having so much fun with my favorite game. Kept buying Robux non-stop, spending it on trivial things as if Roblox had simply nodded in shame. I started an issue if I had stopped there. Yes, I took the bus back home. While playing Roblox later that night, I remembered a new game my friends mentioned at school. I was disappointed to learn it was paid. And even though I had previously bought some paid games on stores, I gave her debit card back. You can keep it and pay the rent again next month, she said. I felt incredibly guilty, but I'd spent so much money from her bank account that I was too ashamed to say anything. All I was able to manage was, you keep the card. I don't feel comfortable carrying it around. As I was leaving, Grandma asked, Ricky, is everything okay with you today? Or did something happen at home? I forced a smile and said, No, it's all good. Oh, I'm so glad. You're such a good boy. I'd do anything to see you happy, she said, giving me a big hug. It wouldn't have been an issue if I had stopped there. Yes, I would have let Grandma down, but I'm sure she would have forgiven me. Unfortunately, I didn't stop. Grandma's card was linked to my Roblox account. This meant that I could spend as much as I wanted, and that's exactly what I did, recklessly. I was out of control. I kept buying Robux non-stop, spending it on trivial things as if Roblox had possessed me. One night, when I tried to buy more Robux, I got an error message saying, not enough funds in your bank account. That was the moment I realized I'd wasted every cent Grandma had. The worst part was the rent was due the next day. When I arrived at Grandma's, I forced myself to ring the bell. I was sure she would send me to pay the rent at some point. There weren't many errands to run that day. Grandma treated me to her fantastic cooking, and we had such a great time together. But the moment I feared most arrived as I was leaving. She handed me her debit card and said, Ricky, would you please get the money from the ATM and pay the rent? I took the card without saying anything. As soon as I was outside, I couldn't contain myself. I started crying. There was no point in going to the ATM because there was no money left in Grandma's bank account. I had spent it all, down to the last penny. I wasn't going to be able to pay Grandma's rent. She'd get evicted from her house because of me. My thoughts rushed to find a solution, but I couldn't think of anything. When I got back home, my eyes were puffy and red from crying. When my mom saw me, she was worried. Ricky, what's wrong, honey? She asked. My dad was also curious to hear what I had to say. At that moment, I knew there was no other way out of this. The tears started flowing again. I'm so sorry. I did something terrible. Grandma asked me to get the money from her bank account to pay her rent, but I couldn't do it because I spent all of the money in her account on Roblox, I said. Dad gave me a wild-eyed look. What do you mean? Why did you have your grandma's money in the first place? He asked. She gave me her debit card. I put her card info on my Roblox account. I don't even know how much I've spent, but whatever amount she had in that account is long gone, I sobbed. My mom stood in shock. Am I hearing this correctly? Did you really just go and spend all of that poor woman's life savings on a game? I didn't have anything to say. I simply nodded in shame. I can't allow someone so irresponsible to live in this house. You're not our son anymore. We're disowning you, my dad screamed. I had no idea his reaction would be so extreme. Dad, I'm so sorry. I'll never touch Roblox again. Please forgive me, I begged. Don't apologize to us. Go apologize to your grandmother. Your father's right. We can't let you live in this house anymore, Mom agreed. That night, my parents disowned me. I had nowhere to go but Grandma's. I owed her a big apology. I had to confess everything and ask her to forgive me. When I made it to Grandma's, she welcomed me with all smiles. Oh, Ricky, you poor dear. Your dad called me and told me everything. Come on in. You can stay with me until we get this mess sorted, she said. But Grandma, I spent all of your money. How are you going to pay rent? Where are we going to go? I'm so sorry for what I did. Please forgive me. I started mumbling through my tears. She said, Oh, I've known about that this whole time. When you made your first purchase, I got a notification from the bank. At first, I didn't pay much attention, but the messages kept coming. I called the bank and transferred my money into a different account. By the time I was able to stop it, you had managed to spend $1,800. I can't imagine how a smart young man spends that much on a game, but I'm glad that you finally saw your mistake. I couldn't believe it, but having her forgiveness was such a relief. Grandma, you have no idea how much this means to me. I was so scared that I had spent all of the money you had, I said, hugging her tightly. I've been living with my grandmother since that day. I've entirely cut Roblox out of my life, as you might have guessed. I've been working part-time after school. I'm determined to pay back the $1,800 I spent, even if it takes months. My parents are still mad at me, and they have every right to be. I miss them a lot. Hopefully, they can find it in their hearts to forgive me one day.
Welcome to the Here's My Story channel. I'm Layla. For my 12th birthday, my mom gave me this heart-shaped locket. Inside, there's a picture of my mom on one side and of me on the other. She told me, through this necklace, I'll be with you wherever you go. You can always look at it when you miss me. That year, both my parents died in a boating accident. I was the only one who survived. I didn't have any relatives to look after me, so I was placed in a group home. My life was completely upended. I would stare at my mother's picture and cry all day long. Eventually, a musician couple adopted me. Thanks to them, I started living again. But one day, they said to me, "Layla, we've decided to get a divorce. Unfortunately, we can't be your adoptive parents anymore." At 18, I had to go back to the group home. You're allowed to live in the home until you turn 21. Since I was over 18, I could leave whenever I wanted, but I had nowhere else to go. So I reluctantly stayed there. In the meantime, I started looking for work. If I started making money, I could get myself out of there. I'd hit rock bottom again. My only source of support was my mom, whom I was carrying inside my locket. One day, the director called me into his office. There was an old guy in the room with him. The director said, "Layla, I have great news for you. This gentleman represents a family that wants to adopt you." I did not expect this. I said, "Thank you very much, but I just turned 18. I want to start building a life on my own." The man said calmly, "Miss Layla, if you accept our offer, we will make a donation of $5 million to the home." It was obviously a wealthy family, but I was weary of another adoption adventure. I looked at the director. He was waiting for my response with excitement. Well, $5 million is a lot of money, so he was right to get excited. I had to say yes, but only because I was thinking of the home. The following day, a luxury car picked me up and took me to the airport. We got on a private plane. I didn't even know where we were going. Shortly after takeoff, the old man came to me. He told me his name was Leon and he was an attorney. "I'm sure you're curious about your new family. You're in for a big surprise, because you've been adopted by a king," he said. He was right. Of course, I was surprised. I had so many questions. I bombarded Mr. Leon with them. He politely answered all of them. He told me that the country where we were headed was made up of 3 islands in the middle of the ocean. Its total population is 170,000. The biggest island is the capital. It's a really wealthy country because 2 of the world's biggest diamond mines are located there. Its citizens are very happy and love their king very much. When we were landing, Mr. Leon showed me the palace that was built on the highest point of the island. It looked straight out of a fairy tale. I was in a dream. "Why did the king adopt me?" I asked. "You'll find out soon," he said. After landing, we took a short ride to the palace. It was even bigger than it seemed from the plane. There were portraits of the former members of the royal family on the walls. I still couldn't believe that I'd been adopted by a king. I was scared to pinch myself because if this was a dream, I did not want to wake up from it. Mr. Leon introduced me to Miss Isla. She was the butler at the palace. He told me she was the one who'd take care of me. She was a warm and friendly lady. First, she took me to the dining hall. "Would you like to eat something before you head to your room? Every day we prepare 99 dishes for the buffet. What would you like?" I thanked her and said, "I'm not hungry at all. Even seeing all this food makes me full." Miss Isla then took me to my quarters. I was staring around, mesmerized. My room was magnificent. 3 other people walked in. Miss Isla said, "The royal tailors will take your measurements. They'll make you dresses you can wear every day or on special occasions. They're thinking about 100 everyday dresses and 100 gowns to begin with. Will that be enough for you?" "Please don't get me wrong, but isn't that a little too much?" Miss Isla replied, "In that case, for now we'll do 10 each." I was going to say, even that feels excessive, but Miss Isla said, "In the morning you will meet the king. I'll leave you to rest. I'm sure you need it," and left with the tailors. I was so excited when I heard I was going to meet the king. What was he like? Would he like me? Why had he adopted me? Before I could even change my clothes, I fell asleep, a million questions running in my head. I woke up to a strange sound. It was coming from my window. Because my room was so high up, I thought it was a bird. When I opened the curtain, I couldn't believe my eyes. A giraffe was staring at me. I opened the window right away. I started petting the giraffe's head. Somebody yelled from downstairs, "I'm sorry, is she bothering you?" "No, I love this. Do you have animals like this one around here?" I asked. The person downstairs said, "We have giraffes, peacocks, deer, parrots, even pandas here. You may run into them while walking in the garden." "Are you their caretaker?" I asked. "Yes, my name is Lucas," he said, and I shouted down, "Pleased to meet you, and I'm Layla." When Lucas said, "I'm pleased to meet you too, I'll see you around. Bella now needs to feed a baby," I yelled, "Can I come with you? I've never seen a baby giraffe." 5 minutes later, I was with Lucas alongside the baby giraffe. "Unfortunately, this baby's mother died during labor. Bella is feeding her," he said, and I started tearing up. I opened up my locket and showed him my mom's picture. "I'm sorry, I don't usually cry this easily. I lost my mom too. Not a day passes when I don't miss her," I said. Lucas turned to the baby giraffe. "This little boy's name is Lucas. Do you know why I gave him my own name? Because he's an orphan like me. Every time I look at him, I remember I'm an orphan and I think about my mother. If we ever have a female baby giraffe, we'll name her after you," he said, smiling. At that moment, I heard Miss Isla calling for me. I'd almost forgotten that I was going to meet the king. I said goodbye to Lucas and ran to her. "The king is in a meeting right now. Meanwhile, we can go and visit a spot which I think you will love," she said. After passing through many doors, we came to the place Miss Isla was talking about, a jewelry store. It had a sparkling display. When we entered, I asked, "There's a jewelry store inside the palace? Is it only open to the royal family?" Miss Isla and the man inside laughed. Miss Isla replied, "This is not a store. These are the royal jewels. You can take anything you want." The man was holding a necklace made up of gigantic diamonds. "Would you like to try this? It's one of the most valuable necklaces in the world," she said. I held on to my own necklace. "Thanks so much, but I already have the world's most valuable necklace right here." Miss Isla was taken by surprise. "Are you sure? You can have whatever you want from here. I don't think any girl can resist these pieces of jewelry," she insisted. "Thanks so much, but I don't ever want to wear anything other than this necklace," I replied. Miss Isla said, "In that case, we can now go and meet the king. I'm sure he'll be delighted to see you." When we came to the entrance to the throne room, Miss Isla pointed to a chair and asked me to wait there. Then she went in to talk to the king. Half an hour later, the door opened. Miss Isla invited me in, saying, "Our king and our prince are waiting for you." Going into the throne room, I was so excited I thought my heart would jump out of my chest. I was staring at the floor because I didn't know what else to do. After taking a few steps, I stopped. I heard the baritone of the king's voice. "Come here, Layla. Lift up your head so I can see your pretty face. This palace has been waiting for you for a long time," he said. When I looked up, I saw the king and the prince next to him. I was so baffled that I almost fainted because the person next to the king was Lucas. He was enjoying seeing the surprise on my face and smiling mischievously. The king said with a smile, "You have every right to be surprised. I'd be surprised too if I saw the animal caretaker I just met this morning as a prince later the same day. You might be even more surprised when you hear the rest of the story. Ever since you entered the palace, you've undergone a series of tests. You're the 46th girl who came here. Each of you had been handpicked from 46 group homes all over the U.S. But unfortunately, the previous 45 girls had been disqualified before they could get to this phase. You're the first girl who's passed all the tests and met me in person." I didn't quite get what the king was talking about, but I was still too excited to speak. All I could do was smile. The king looked up. He was quiet for a while, and then he stared at a painting on the wall. Then he turned to me again. "The lady in that painting is my dear wife, Olivia. I met her in New York and fell in love with her at first sight. Soon after, we got married. I was only a prince back then. When my father passed, I came back here and was inaugurated as the king. Olivia became the queen. We were a very happy couple. When Lucas was born, we became a very happy family. For years, we ruled our country in peace. But every fairy tale comes to an end. Olivia passed away last year. She had grown up in an orphanage. She wanted Lucas to marry an orphan too, so we wanted to fulfill her wish. Miss Isla designed several rounds of tests for us to pick the best bride for the palace. Miss Isla, please go on if you like. With pleasure, my king. Our first and easiest test was the all-you-can-eat buffet. 3 of the girls who came to the palace couldn't resist it and ate for hours. And of course, they got disqualified in the first round. 8 girls were disqualified during the dress test. They quickly accepted my offer to make 100 everyday dresses and 100 special gowns. For some of them, even that wasn't enough. That's why they didn't get to the next round. 11 of the girls who came to the palace were disqualified during the giraffe test. Some of them were scared of the giraffe. Some of them looked down on Lucas because he was the animal caretaker and didn't even deign to talk to him. Only you, among all the girls, went to see the baby giraffe along with Lucas. 23 of the candidates were disqualified at the last round, which was the jewelry test. When they saw all the jewels, they almost lost their minds. They wanted to get so many rings, earrings, and necklaces. This, of course, showed us how greedy they were. You didn't want any of it, and that's how you passed all the tests and became the first girl to meet our king. And what do you think happened next? The king looked to his son. "It's your turn now," he said. Lucas got down on one knee in front of me and asked, "Will you be my wife and our princess?" You've probably guessed what my answer was. We're now engaged. We're getting married next month. By the way, a female baby giraffe was born, but I didn't give her my name. I named her after my mom. Now there's one more thing that reminds me of my mom every time I look at it.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Here Is My Story channel. I'm Janine. One night, I had a dream in which I was in the basement of our house. While looking for something, I don't know what, I discovered a secret room. At first I was afraid, but then curiosity got the best of me and I went in. It was such a realistic dream. I was looking around the room when suddenly the door shut behind me. It was completely dark and I started screaming. I woke up right away. I was drenched in sweat. I looked around, scared. I was in my room. Thankfully, it was just a dream, I thought. Suddenly, I realized something. The secret room was real. What I saw in my dream had actually happened to me when I was 5 or 6 years old. I had been looking for our neighbor's cat in the basement. I heard the neighbor tell my mom that her cat went missing the day before. I thought it might be in our basement, so I went down there. Somehow, a door happened to open in one of the walls. I remember going into the hidden room, but I don't remember what happened there at all. All of a sudden, the light went off. It was pitch black, and I was scared to death. I guess my brain simply erased this memory because it was so traumatic, but when I dreamed of it, it came right back. It was a clear memory, as if it happened yesterday. I couldn't remember who it was that got me out of the room. I thought I could ask my mom about it. My mom is a designer, and my dad is a software developer. They both work from home. I rushed into my mom's home office. I said, "Mom, I have something important I need to ask you." She looked at me, smiling. But when I began to tell her about my dream, her smile froze. "The secret room in the basement is real, right? How did I ever get out of it?" I asked. Mom didn't know what to say. "Janine, it was just a dream. There's no secret room in the basement," she said. She got mad when I wouldn't drop it. "I'm really busy right now," she said and shooed me away. I figured my mom was lying, but I didn't say anything. I decided to find the secret room myself. Both my parents and I go to bed really early. We're usually asleep by 10 p.m. That night, after my parents went to bed, I quietly went down to the basement. I scanned the walls with the flashlight. There had to be a secret door somewhere. I kept looking and looking, but I couldn't find it. I was feeling really sleepy. When I got back to my room, I heard people outside talking. I looked out the window. There was a car parked across the street, and my dad was talking to the people inside. I was really surprised. What was my dad doing outside so late? Who was he talking to? The next evening, I was in the basement again after everyone went to bed. I had an idea. If the secret door had opened while I was looking for the cat, maybe I should try looking along the bottom part of the wall. When I pointed my flashlight down, I saw a brick that was sticking out. When I pushed it back into place, I heard a mechanism. Then a tiny door opened inside the wall. I got really excited. The light in the secret room switched on by itself.
I walked in. Inside, there was a table, a few chairs, a couch, and a bunch of cabinets.
I haven't even built a tunnel bore yet. So start off, bam, 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 bam. I hope you guys know I've had to go up and out of this stupid cave every single time I've forgotten an item. This time I forgot a slime block. I'm gonna flick this note block, it should work. Oh, it launched. Stuff is exploding. Okay, we're boring right now. We are so boring. Oh, wait, there's diamonds. This already worked, and I already got diamonds. That's crazy. Now, I was thinking I could build multiple things, because probably better to do that, I would assume. We now have 2 tunnel bores. After only a couple minor setbacks. Bam. Didn't break anything. What? Oh, I'm gonna use these for like a half an hour and see how much I can. Alright. We have a stack and 1 diamond ore. Alright, let's go mine these diamonds. Alright, 2.5 stacks of diamonds. Not bad. Now, how many diamond blocks that equals? Let's find out right now. I feel like these are going to be a disappointing 17 blocks of diamond. Let's get a start over here. I will say, this is looking pretty nice. So once we actually get this all done, it's going to look pretty nice. Guys, the diamond mining, it took a lot out of me, okay? Heading back to the raid farm, tried and true. I sit there and I click. Oh, somebody AFK'd. I just get 3 emeralds. Look at this. Okay, I've AFK'd the raid farm some more, and I have a lot more emeralds. But there's one thing that's been really annoying me. This is the most unorganized storage system ever. There's no storage system at all. It sucks. It's terrible. And I have to go in manually and take out all these emeralds. It's maybe the worst thing ever. So I want to build an actual storage system for this. It's going to be a little bit difficult, but luckily I'm a redstone master, so it won't even be a problem. So to build it, I need to get chests, pack dice, and redstone. This is why the storage system sucks so much, because I can't even find items that I need to build the storage system. I can't find any redstone. I'm just gonna go with every temple. Got out. Oh my god. Bro! You're so dry. I guess maybe if I wasn't wearing leather armor, I wouldn't have died to that. I just spent like an hour getting all my stuff back, including all the materials in the storage system. So now it's time to build it. Unfortunately, my friends decided to come over. A lot of work, more staff. Yeah, I can tell. Luckily, they eventually got bored and left, and I was able to finish the sword. Alright, time to find out if the thing I spent hours building actually works. Alright, it seems like it's working, which is good. I mean, I just haven't broken it. Oh, there's items getting stuck right there. There we go. Alright, emerald storage is working, redstone's working, gunpowder's working, nice, glowstone's working. Oh my god. Okay, dude, like, it works perfectly. I'm actually a genius at following the tutorial if someone's really smart at it. Alright, I got a lot more emeralds. So with my newly acquired emeralds, I want to make some more progress on making this island expensive. So unfortunately, I lost my emerald one, which means I'm just going to have to use a little bit of a different method. Alright, that should be good. And then I just do this. It should work. I'm glad I have that power, because otherwise I'd have to spend hours and hours placing an insane amount of emerald blocks. Oh man, glad I don't have to do that. Look at how much emeralds on this island. Now, this is actually insane. Unfortunately, my diamonds are looking embarrassing. You know what else is embarrassing? My levels are all gone. You know why?
There's someone has a gun to your head and give you emerald. Like, you think you can fight, like, the emerald?
Are you serious? But anyway, we're like almost done with the emeralds and like none of the way done with the diamonds. So I need to get a large amount of diamonds real fast or real slow. I don't know how long this is going to take. This is kind of crazy to fly through these tunnels, but it's kind of fun. I want to build more tunnel bores because, you know, currently I go like bam, bam, you know, it's okay. It bores a little bit. But I need to be more boring. We have now doubled our tunnel bore count. And so let's see if these actually work or if they break. Let's go. It's working. Do you work? It's looking good. All right. Oh, dude, with 4 tunnel bores now, we can just kind of run across here and we can go crazy. Oh, what happened? Let's see. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. Oh, no. Oh, come on. Oh. My zombie miners keep blowing themselves up. Oh, blow it up. Oh. And... Okay, we need a different solution
this because this keeps blowing up and, you know, it's not even that efficient. Like, I'm not even getting that many diamonds. Now we have 9 diamond blocks, which is fine, I guess. It's actually sad how little of a dent that made in the amount of water I have to do. So, out of ideas, I called a friend to help me. I'll have the right uncle there. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's real. This is Wumba, a player who used to hold the world record for the most amount of diamonds mined. How many diamonds did you mine? I believe it was about 15,900. That's pretty good. So I built a couple of tunnel bores, but I had a little bit of a problem because they were kind of slow, and they also kept slowing themselves up. Okay, there's good news and there's bad news. What would you like first? Let's take the good news first. Let's say the good news first. The good news is these trenches that you have running have actually created a space for a much easier and much better trencher that you could be using. But the bad news, I would need to destroy all of my old ones and build completely new bores. You gotta know about me, alright? I don't quit. Nothing's gonna stop me from boring tunnels. Alright, I'm gonna try it out, guys. Doesn't get Are you guys ready? If this doesn't work, log it out for the night, not log it back on. Alright. Oh, no, that looks good, actually. Oh, beautiful. Let's go! Just wait, brother. Why? I consider it. Tunnel board is really fun. It's like we all yearn to dig just large tunnels and blow stuff up, and this lets us do that while still being productive. As fun as the diamond mining is, I also need to address some other problems. Problem number 1 is the trees. Because I need these trees to be like that tree, but like all of them. And the first thing I'm going to need to do that is a lot of copper. But I have a dirty little secret that, and it's that there's also like some exposed dirt. And I need this to be copper too. And if it gets lazy, then I'm going to use the same block for the trees as this for the dirt. I'm going to tell you that maybe you should build this island, alright? And see how much work it is. And see if you're going to be starting to cut a few corners here and there, okay? Apparently this copper farm is in the end, which is not, really somewhere I'd expect it to be. This might not look like much, but apparently this is a farm that will create thousands of copper an hour. Now, I have to load some zombies. Alright guys, ENXO4 said you guys would walk in this thing. So, let's see if that's true. Oh, dude! They didn't. Okay, there we go. We got them all in. I just gotta hop in here. You understand? Close the trap door. I doesn't get close too well. Oh, it's working. It's working. Let's go. Okay, according to my entity counter, there are 300. Oh my god, there's a lot of zombies here. So I'm gonna show you guys how it works. Basically, when I hit a zombie, I'll hit it with a zombie right now. That triggers the zombie's reinforcement mechanic. So basically, spawns a bunch of zombies to come and kill. And you can build this in the end because zombie reinforcements can still spawn there. But the end is great because it's really flat and stuff. There's no caves underneath. It means all the zombies spawn over here. And then they all come into here, and then I hit them. Every time I hit them, there's a chance that a reinforcement spawn. Which lets me get, let's see how many zombies we have. 500 zombies in a small location in the end in like no time. Okay, after I hit 10, we got 2.5 stacks of copper. That's pretty good. Now I can finally start building trees. Okay, it took like maybe 4 trees for me to run out of Amethyst, so I think it's time to go heal that. I just spent so long trying. Yo, editing bacon here. Is it crazy or does that look exactly like a smiley face? Like, kind of like the Lorax, but instead of like trying to protect the trees, you just rebuild them out of copper and amethyst. The second person would have made a much better story. Oh, I also can't forget to place down the diamond. We have, oh wow, almost a stack of diamond blocks. Let's do some filling in. Okay, honestly, pretty good progress. Oh man. From up here, it just does not look like the progress is as good. I'm kind of bored of using tunnel board, but I have an idea that I think can get me a lot of diamonds. All I have to do literally no work. And that idea is a diamond mining competition. Basically, if I convince a bunch of people to mine diamonds for a competition, I can just take all the diamonds at the end for myself. Somehow, no one figured out the event was just a way for me to get free labor. So, some people did seem a little unprepared. He's only wearing iron pants, so I'm not sure if he has any other possessions. And I just had to hope that no one figured out my actual plan. Hey man, you should probably get going, man. Okay, so this competition has 2 main goals. So the first one, easy to get people to mine diamonds from. But the second one, I want to see if my diamond tunneling system is more efficient than other people's just normal mine. It better be, alright? It better be. But if it isn't, I think I would have to reconsider some stuff and possibly choose an entirely new life goal. So to make sure that doesn't happen, yesterday I built 6 more tunnel boards. Hopefully that's enough. Everything was going well. I was racking up diamonds until, oh wow. So sometimes if you're really focused on diamonds, you forget about other important things, like totems and the fact that you're wearing leather armor. I tried to push through and keep mining, but I wasted a lot of time getting back to my tunnel. And also because I died again. At the end of the day, though, I didn't lose anything, other than my dignity from everyone seeing my deaths in chat. And luckily, everyone else was getting diamonds from me anyway, though they didn't know it yet. Alright, everybody deposit their diamonds. No checking other people's diamonds, right? Everyone stand with your own diamonds, and I'll come around and I'll check. Hey, stop looking at the diamonds, Miles!
Look at that. Look at that. Look at that.
And finally, it was time to announce the winners. Okay, 5th place is Rasmus. Rasmus got less than a stack of diamonds. I don't understand how you did that few diamonds. The winner of the diamond mining competition, Tazo somehow. How did he do that? How? Oh, and he just killed it. Killed Tazo. And now, I just have to take all the diamonds without anyone noticing. Tazo got 173 diamonds.
Oh, I lost by not that much.
Hey, Miles, come back here. Put the diamonds back in. I suppose I should give you your prize now, Tazo. I got you a maxed out pair of shoes. Then, we got a maxed out flint and steel. And of course, we have to give you a maxed out netherite hose.
Netherite hose, yeah, let's go.
You know, I had to make the prize good, so yeah, a maxed set of tools. Just maybe not the tools that everyone would expect.
Oh, so.
No, that looks pretty understandable.
Oh, wait, did they can take all the requirements?
Well, I mean, I ran this event. You know, it only makes sense that the manager of the event would take a percentage.
The percentage is 100.
Well, that was incredibly successful. A stack at 6 diamond blocks in 1 hour. I mean, that's the most efficient farm. I don't you just have the other people do the manual labor for you. I did a little bit of mining last night as well, and we had 2 stacks of diamond blocks that we can use to place down. That better be like most of what I do. Alright, let's place these all down. Okay, it almost covered all the water. So the diamond section's almost done, but I also can't forget about finishing the emerald. So let's just finish it. Currently I'm staring at how many wardens? 70? It seems a tad excessive. Bam. Alright, look at that. All of these diamonds are filled in, this little lake is filled in, and this little lake is filled in. And we even got diamonds to spare, alright? We're kind of rich at this point. Now, we gotta unsand this entire place and replace it all with gold. There's no real verb for that. I'll just say golden. We're gonna gold it. I've learned what the wardens are for. They're a mob switch. They keep every single mob from spawning in the nether. Now, this is a bit of an issue, because if you guys didn't know, big men spawn in the nether. Now, according to a video, the only way to make it not do that is to unload the chunks that the wardens are. Unfortunately, the wardens are right next to the gold farm. Oh god, I have to make a new one. Being a Minecraft YouTuber is really hard. Now, this farm is supposed to work. It's pretty simple. Basically, pigmen spawn all the way down here, and up here, you really want to eat the turtle egg because it looks nice and delicious. They come over, try and eat it. They teleport to the portal, and then I slaughter them in large quantities. So the farm should be working once I get through any of these portals. We hop on over here. Oh, almost just fell. And now, what should happen is zombie pigmen should start coming through. I think. Oh, it's because the warden mob switch is still powered. All I should have to do is come over here, clear this level down, get the darkness effect apparently. Now, here, head back here, bam, land here. Now this should start coming. Please disappear. Yes, it's working. Wow, that's a lot of zombie pigmen. Oh wow, I need to start killing. This is actually awesome. Here, I'll turn on the sound so you guys can really experience it. It's actually crazy how easy this was to build. Alright, I've AFK'd the gold farm a good amount, and I have a couple stacks of gold. I don't think it's going to be enough to finish the sand part, but I think I can at least make a good amount of progress. As I always say, it's time to replace all the sand on this island with gold.
Are you recording?
Yeah.
This is looking absolutely insane so far, but I'm excited to see how it looks near the end of the video.
I'll say one more line.
Hi.
Okay, so I've placed down all the gold blocks.
Whoa, that looks absolutely insane.
Well, no, the point is that it's not a lot. I need so many more gold blocks.
Oh my god, guys, I have a huge problem. I'm kinda out of gold.
I'm gonna start deafening when I voice lines. So I need about 500,000 more nuggets of gold. And speaking of 500,000, I'm trying to hit 500k subs by the end of the year, which means I need to literally double my sub count. It's not gonna be easy, but if literally everyone watching this subscribes, it would get me there. I don't actually think that's gonna happen, but if you subscribe, at least come. Anyways, I need gold. Okay, so if I want to make this farm fully AFKable, I need to add a sorting system and I need to add a regeneration system because I don't want to starve. Alright, now I think I just have to do this. That. Oh, that's a tad too easy. I think think I finished the sorting system. This didn't actually take too long. Now it is working. You know, this really doesn't look like it should work, but I think the items drop down here. The slime block, as you can see, launches it there. They somehow go into the hoppers, and then the rest go into sulfur. Alright, let's head down to the storage system and make sure it's working. Oh, yes it is. Here we go. Oh my god, it's actually working. Okay, so it looks like when I'm starving to death, the regen thing heals me, so I survive. I'm in constant agony, but I do survive. So I can AFK this and not be dead. Yay! This is in a good haul. This electric system, it was a very good choice. I'm glad I did. Alright, so as you can see, doing more gold. And so, I just gotta place all the gold down. At least, it's the same time. Gold. Alright, that's all my gold. Let's see how much have we been able to do. Oh, that's pretty solid, actually. That is pretty solid. Now, you know what? We got this, dude. We're actually, like, we're getting there, you know? We're getting there. Alright, I got a bit of gold, and you can see I'm almost at 500 levels. This is taking a lot of AFK. Okay, so luckily, I don't think I have to place this all down, because I can just grab one of these. I think I just have to build one of these. Alright, and then I should just be able to, if I can do this right. Shoot, let's just try. Bam! What the? Bro, what? Bro! Okay, I think this one took me to the wrong place. Hold on, let me just. Alright, there we go. We are all golded. Unfortunately, we're still not done. We have some trees that are not copper yet. We have some gravel that I guess I'll turn to iron blocks. And we have a lot of dirt that I need to make copper. But most importantly, I think that this island needs someplace to live. It's kind of pointless to have an island, just have it be a bunch of trees. So I'm going to build a house right here. Alright guys, the dirt has been replaced with copper. Oh, that's not supposed to happen. That's not all I did. Boom, I made the nether portal into this. All the leaves are amethyst, all the netherrack is redstone, and the portal, I think the portal looks kind of cool. And of course, we're not going to be broken have a gold block out there. Right? It's a diamond block, right? We have cool portals. But last but not least, we have the base. It's not the craziest base ever. I designed it with some help from friends, and it looks okay. You know what? It looks good enough. But the problem is, it doesn't have anything inside. So I think I need to make a bedroom and whatever else I wanted. All right, my home has now been decorated. We got a bedroom over here, beautifully furnished, amazing decorations. Wow, look at this. Come down here into a lovely living area with a nice